thought was interesting about it was the completely, well, I would say sort of airbrushing, really, of Prince Harry, who shuffled in with the only royal still talking to him.
King Charles III has officially taken away Prince Harry's children, Archie and Lilibet's royal titles and privileges. This has shocked the world and destroyed any hope of reconciliation. The palace's public statement says this is to make the monarchy more efficient, but insiders say the real reason is that the royal family has never accepted the circumstances of the children's birth. People used to think that the rumors about a surrogate were just a plot, but now
An interview that has everyone scratching their heads why some sources fear Prince Harry
have now become royal fact within palace walls, and for Prince Harry, this isn't simply a political slap, it's a huge emotional loss. He lost the one thing he felt he could still give to his kids: inheritance. It's not just about the titles. The House of Windsor has just established a permanent line in the sand when it comes to truth, ancestry, and royal blood. There was a short official statement on the royal website that made the announcement.
revealed over the weekend that he's been cut off by his father, King Charles, again, claiming the monarch won't speak to me. This revelation followed Prince Harry's failed legal appeal over.
There was no big news conference or passionate explanation. Instead, there was only a chilly, neatly written phrase that followed the rules. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex's kids will no longer have the royal titles and styles they used to have. Harry and Meghan's humiliation was complete. They kept their titles even though they stopped doing royal duties, which was both clinical and cruel. King Charles made the choice, signed it, and moved on. There were no calls or meetings. His son was left in the dark and furious.
Also unleashed a series of harsh criticisms directed towards his family. Can I just say that that's what kills me the most, that the soundbite everybody grabbed for this was, I would like.
For years, newspapers and online forums speculated about whether Meghan carried her kids herself, while royalists pleaded for openness. The Sussexes said that this kind of language was racist and cruel, but now some advisors to the palace say that the royal family's own papers support the surrogacy notion, not as a rumor, but as fact. This small change from scandal to official justification was the last straw. The titles have to disappear if the monarchs can't prove royal bloodlines. Harry never thought this would be used against him, but Charles has made it obvious that tradition is more important than feelings. Harry's anger reaches its peak. Insiders say that Harry went off when he heard the news. Reports from Montecito suggest that he shut himself in his home office for hours, shouting, banging drawers, and demanding to talk to his father immediately.
Taken Prince Harry 40 years to learn the definition of the word consequences, but it was Princess Diana herself. This is my girlfriend, Maureen Callahan, that reminded me of this, that referred to her youngest son.
Only to be assured that the problem was settled. One source said that Harry was about to fall apart because he was so angry and sorry. He thought this had nothing to do with royal regulations. It was a direct threat to the future of his kids. He is said to have started writing new entries for his memoir and may disclose private recordings of former royal conversations to fight back. The gloves are off. Meghan has been quiet, which is unusual for her. She hasn't made a statement, cried on a podcast, or posted on Instagram. People claim she's in crisis mode now, so she quoted something about resilience.
Now, in California, the Duchess of Sussex has been making moves, and she's hired a brand new chief of staff. Can you imagine needing a chief of staff?
No,
It's like being
not.
the president, isn't it?
No. When Aidan said
yesterday that they were working with their legal and PR teams to come up with a response that would make the palace's decision seem old-fashioned, unfair, and even illegal. However, her silence also suggests panic. If the royal family is now openly questioning how her children were born, then all of the carefully crafted public images she built are in danger. This isn't only an insult to me, it's a direct danger to her brand, her power, and her relevance. More than bloodline matters. If you ever doubted it, it's becoming evident that the monarchy won't change its centuries-old standards for modern PR.
In an extraordinary interview tonight, Prince Harry has spoken candidly about the breakdown of his relationship with his father and other members of the royal family. He says his father doesn't speak to him, but added he would love a reconciliation.
People who know Charles think this was the main reason he did what he did. He may love his grandkids, but as king, he has to defend the institution, and in doing so, he's made a bold and cruel statement. Only individuals born into the royal family can use the royal name. This public breakdown of Harry's fantasies shows that there is more to the story than a family feud. It demonstrates the cost of breaking away from tradition while still striving to cling to its benefits. The monarchy has spoken, and the humiliated Meghan and Harry's loyal admirers online called the move cruel, racist, and inexcusable.
I started by asking him how he was feeling. pretty gutted about the decision. We thought it was going to go our way, but it certainly has proven that there was no way to win this through the courts.
Many high-ranking courtiers at Buckingham Palace are unhappy but satisfied that this has finally happened. They think that letting Archie and Lilibet have their titles after Harry and Meghan stood down was a blunder that confused the people. You can't say you don't want the crown and still want your kids to wear it. According to one royal source, the palace wants to draw a line with this action. Being loyal to the company is not a choice, it's the base. Harry thought he was going to be free, rich, famous, independent, and get Hollywood offers when he left the UK.
Yeah, for the time being, it's impossible for me to take my family back to the UK. I can't see a world in which I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK at this point.
But that dream is falling apart as we speak. Reports say that Netflix is thinking about working with other companies again in the future. Spotify has already cut ties, and now Harry's Invictus Games are in trouble since his kids lost their titles. This is the one thing he wanted to keep his royal heritage alive. Sources say he feels alone, powerless, and more furious over leaving the company he thought would help him make a brighter future for his family. Instead, he can't remember anything from the past. Many people think that Queen Camilla had a subtle but important role in this historic choice because she is known for being straightforward.
Do you want to try to see this get to the Supreme Court, or have you abandoned that?
I don't want any battles to continue. There is way too much suffering and way too much conflict in the world. This, at the heart of it, is a family dispute. And it makes me really, really sad that we're sitting here today, 5 years.
Reports say that Camilla has been telling King Charles to stop dragging out the Sussex problem. People who know her say she told Charles that putting off decisions just makes Meghan stronger. Camilla, who is known for being disciplined and dedicated to the kingdom, thought that taking away titles was required house cleaning. She said either you protect the monarchy or you let them tear it down with sympathy games. She is said to have told the king that Charles listened and took action. The decision's message isn't only about Archie and Lilibet.
Or my father's grandchildren, if anything was to happen to them, look where the responsibility lies. You know, so yeah, there's a duty of care that has been.
Prince Harry is said to be absolutely furious, not just disappointed or frustrated, but seething after King Charles officially moved to strip Archie and Lilibet of all royal titles, privileges, and formal recognition. This wasn't a subtle shift in protocol or a quiet behind-the-scenes adjustment. It was a blunt, sweeping decision, one that sent a thunderous message across the Atlantic. Any further attempts by Meghan and Harry to leverage their royal ties for personal branding, commercial gain, or media exposure will now be met with swift, decisive action. The move by King Charles marks a new era of monarchy strategy, one where the crown no longer tolerates what it now sees as a misuse of royal identity. Sources close to the palace say this is just phase one of a larger effort to fully disentangle the monarchy from the Sussex saga. Legal teams are reportedly working overtime, reviewing everything from trademarked use of royal in product lines to how Archie and Lilibet's names can and can no longer be used in public-facing content. The message is clear: no more royal privileges, no more institutional support, and certainly no more access. And yet the real significance of this moment lies not just in what's being taken away, but in what it represents. This is not about petty title politics, it's about boundaries. For years, Harry and Meghan have walked a tightrope between independence and influence. They claim they wanted to step back, to live a life free of royal constraints. But at every turn, they've leaned into the brand, using royal imagery, naming their children in traditional fashion, and maintaining an aesthetic that screamed we're still part of the firm, even when their actions suggested otherwise. Now the monarchy has decided to cut the cord completely. Royal lawyers are reportedly going through every clause, every line of inheritance, every symbolic gesture that once connected the Sussexes to the institution. Trademark enforcement is tightening around the use of HRH titles, and future restrictions on Archie and Lilibet's association with the royal family are expected to follow. Some reports suggest that even informal appearances at royal events, once possible under Queen Elizabeth's reign, will now be categorically denied unless the children independently choose to re-engage with royal duties decades from now. And that's what's got Harry pacing rooms and making frantic calls. Because for all his talk of freedom and autonomy, he never truly prepared for total separation. He thought there would always be a safety net, a way to dip back in when convenient, a soft door left open in case the California dream soured. But now, watching his children get pulled entirely out of the royal framework, that's not just a political statement, it's a personal blow. This isn't just about titles, it's about legacy. His children won't grow up with the same weight of expectation, the same visibility, or the same access to tradition. And for Harry, who built so much of his identity on being a bridge between old and new, that feels like a betrayal, even though objectively it's anything but. It's simply the natural conclusion of a path he chose, one that now leaves him on the outside looking in. And make no mistake, this wasn't revenge, it was reorganization. King Charles is reshaping the monarchy, not just to modernize, but to protect it, to draw a hard line between those who serve and those who simply live near the throne. Every decision made here is strategic, designed to ensure that the crown doesn't become collateral damage in a media war it never signed up for. But for Harry, the emotional toll is evident. His anger isn't just about the loss of titles, it's about the realization that his family's place in history is fading fast. And worse, he has no one to blame but himself.
That from 2020, because I was no longer allowed an official role, and because I decided to remove myself eventually from the institution, that my life got devalued from the highest score to the lowest score overnight.
And you reject.
You were royal. What happens when you're not anymore? That's the question at the heart of Prince Harry's growing public unraveling, not just as a former prince, but as a man who tried to rewrite his identity and found himself with none left to claim. What should have been a bold new chapter in his life, freedom from protocol, escape from press scrutiny, control over his own narrative has instead turned into a full-scale erasure, piece by piece, title by title, privilege by privilege. Because now there is no protection, no association, no recognition, and that's where the tragedy deepens. Harry didn't just walk away from the monarchy, he burned the bridges behind him, convinced that independence would bring clarity, peace, and purpose. But freedom without roots isn't liberation, it's exile. And now he finds himself trapped in a cruel paradox, famous for being royal, yet no longer treated as one, known across the world, yet increasingly irrelevant within it. His children, once seen as future ambassadors of modern royalty, are now officially ordinary Californians, stripped of HRH titles, removed from the line of official duty, and distanced from the very institution their grandfather now leads. That's not just a symbolic move, it's a strategic severance, a way for King Charles to protect the monarchy from further damage while drawing a hard line between those who serve and those who left. This isn't just about lost titles, it's about lost trust. The monarchy has made its stance clear. There is no halfway house. You're either part of the firm or you're not. And after Spare, after the Netflix deal, after years of interviews, documentaries, and emotional storytelling that painted the palace as cold, controlling, even dangerous, the royal family has decided to stop trying to accommodate an image that no longer aligns with theirs. They've chosen preservation over reconciliation, legacy over loyalty, institution over individual. And that leaves Harry standing alone, because yes, he wanted freedom, he fought for it, he wrote about it in books, spoke about it in interviews, and built a brand around it. But freedom without foundation, without purpose, without service, without something real to build on, it turns into isolation. And now Archie and Lilibet are paying the price for a rebellion the monarchy will never forget, and won't soon forgive. Because while they may be too young to understand what's happening right now, they'll grow up in a world where their heritage exists only in photos, not in function, where their names carry weight in gossip columns but not in history books. What Harry thought he was protecting, a legacy, a sense of self, a place for his kids in the broader story of the British crown, is now slipping away, not through accident but through deliberate design. King Charles, despite everything, is playing the long game. His reign is about stability, survival, and streamlining. And if that means cutting ties with a son and grandchildren who chose spectacle over service, then so be it. For Harry, this isn't just political fallout, it's personal devastation. He thought he could leave the monarchy on his terms. He thought he could still shape the narrative from the outside. He thought he could maintain relevance without responsibility. But now, watching his children lose the very titles that once tied them to something greater than themselves, he must be asking the quietest, hardest question of all. Did I give them freedom, or just erase their future? Drop your thoughts below. Is this the final break, or just another step toward complete disconnection? If you found this breakdown honest, insightful, and worth your time, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more fearless takes on power, perception, and the people caught in between.